Hey, welcome back, everybody, to another Toolbox Extra on the Educational AD podcast. We'll be right back with this week's Toolbox Extra guest, but as always, we're going to give a shout out to our sponsors. Now, these are all companies that I've used as an athletic director. They're all great companies. You should be using them too. So just take 3 minutes, listen to our shout outs, then listen to our interview, and then go and visit these sponsors. I'm telling you, you're going to be glad you did. Here we go. We want to thank our good friends at Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. You can schedule a live web demo to see their products in action. You've heard me say before, probably one of the best equipment purchases I ever made as an AD was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Schedule that demo today. We also want to thank our friends at Huddle. You know, as a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches, all of our coaches, our student athletes, even our parents just love the Huddle platform. Go to huddle.com, join the 100 million fans, turn your school into a Huddle school. We also want to say thanks to Vital Signs Wall of Fame and Beacon Creative. Wall of Fame has been helping schools share their legacy for over a decade, and Beacon Creative is going to take it to the next level. It's a creative content service that's going to take your data and supply compelling stories that you can upload to your digital platform. You supply the bullet points, Beacon Creative comes up with a story, and you don't have to lift a finger. I want you to email John Townsend at John, that's John, at beaconwalloffame.com. You're going to be glad you did. That's Beacon Creative. We also want to thank Home Campus. Home Campus is a platform you're going to use every day for scheduling, rosters, results, facilities. Their eligibility and clearance platform alone is a game changer. Go to homecampus.com. Make sure you mention the podcast. Find out all the great things they can do for you and your department. We also want to say thanks to Gipper. Go to Gipper.com and let their team help you become a social media marketing guru. Whether it's a social media post to celebrate a win or an entire newsletter to showcase the great things your department's doing, the team at Gipper is going to have you up and running in no time. It's professional graphic design made easy. Go to Gipper.com to get started. Let's also say thanks to Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. NIAAA leadership training courses are part of the curriculum, and you get them at no extra charge. Don't go to a master's program that's going to force you to go back and take those courses again. Ohio University lets you take those NIAAA courses up front. Check out all the other features of the Ohio University program. That's Ohio University's online masters. We want to say thanks to our friends at Hometown. Hometown continues to lead the way with their solutions that include things like, well, digital ticketing, of course, but how about athletic website construction, fee-free fundraising, and a whole lot more. Whether you're an AD, a coach, even a principal, Hometown's going to show you how to save time, how to raise more money, and how to bring your community together. That's hometown.com. And we want to thank Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. If you've never used a survey to take the pulse of your student athletes, your coaches, how about your parents? You're really missing out. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that helps you take your program from good to great. athleticsurveys.com. Check them out today. And as always, make sure you mention the podcast. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD Podcast and another Toolbox Extra. We just wrapped up the NADC in Tampa. It was a great conference, and I was able to meet a ton of people, make some new friends, and one of them was the group from an organization called Booster, and they're joining us today. Scott Birnbaum. Scott's the co-founder of Booster. It's a really interesting take, something I think you're going to be very interested in as an AD on fundraising. But first of all, let's welcome Scott. Scott, welcome to the Educational AD Podcast.
Oh, thanks for having me, Jake. It was really great to meet you at NADC.
Oh no, absolutely. I remember I was coming around the corner from another booth, and you guys called out, and I just said I'm going to go check this out, and I'm so glad I did. We're going to hear more about the platform, but we always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So, give us a little bit of your background. Where'd you grow up? Where'd you go to school? As I like to say, tell us your life story in 2 minutes. What's the Scott Birnbaum origin story?
It started in Austin, Texas. I grew up in Austin at a time when Austin was a much smaller college town kind of place. It's certainly grown tremendously since I left. I went to the University of Texas. I graduated in the 90s, and then I started my career in finance, working in the retail industry. I worked for a bunch of companies and at retailers in their finance department. And then around 2007, I got into tech. I started working at digital media companies, and I specialized in search marketing. I did that for about 15 years, maybe 16, something like that. But I was a really big or I worked at a company that was a big player in performance marketing in the digital space, centered around search and social advertising. And I got really good at that, and had a really successful uh, time at a couple different startups that IPO'd, and I did well. And then after that happened, I was looking for my next thing of what I wanted to do, because I felt like I'd done all I wanted to do on the advertising side, and I got really interested in what I could do in the athletic space because I've always loved sports, and specifically in trying to get more money into the athletic ecosystem for underfunded programs. That was the thing that I really wanted to focus on, because I wanted more success stories, the kinds of things that you see on short, quick hits on the news, where it's, this program did really well because of the support of their community or the support of a fan base. And, I love those kind of stories, and I want to see more of them.
Wow, great. Thanks for sharing that. Obviously, going to school at University of Texas, you were exposed as a student, as a fan, to a pretty
Hmm.
successful athletic program. As you have gone in your career journey so far, I'm just curious. Any lessons or anything that you can point to and say, "Hey, I got that idea when I was a student at University of Texas."
Well, that's an interesting one. It's when I think about my journey, my time at the University of Texas was, a maturation phase for me as a human. I think that was mostly about me growing up and figuring out who I was. And I stumbled into the finance sector. Like I enrolled in finance when I was at UT when I was a freshman, and I sort of, kept on that path. And the biggest discovery was after college. I was at a company in Dallas, this company called Fossil Watches. People might know them. They're in department stores, and I was working there, and I figured out through, basically just having free reign to go explore in the company because of the position I was in, that I was really good at working with data. Like, I was pretty analytical, and I don't know that I realized it until I started working with, data and spreadsheets and things, and I was able to present information in a way that made sense for a lot of people. And that was a really unique thing that I discovered. It started at the University of Texas, but it was really cultivated in my first couple of jobs, and it was a natural ability I didn't realize I had.
Okay. No, and again, that makes perfect sense. I was just curious, just because obviously a national program, like University of Texas. Um, let's kind of move into the origin of Booster.
Sure.
You talked about your idea. You wanted to get involved with, athletics, athletic funding, that turnaround, that whether it's a high school or college program. We're going to take a deep dive into Booster in a minute or two, but how did what were some of the steps that led to the founding and the launch, if you will, of the company?
Well, the original idea was to try to make an impact in the NIL space. I got interested in NIL because I'm a big Texas Longhorn fan, and I'm a big college football fan, and I could see that NIL was really changing the landscape of sports. And it was very I was very quick to realize that there wasn't enough money to go around, that, there were going to be programs, I mean, even the University of Texas, where funding was going to reach some sort of, basically the big money donors were going to only be able to support so much. And that's what the original NIL was really based on, trying to get the big donors for the university to fund NIL compensation for players in these packages. And I knew that there was going to be a limit to how much that was, and it was going to vary by program. So I started trying to figure out a way to work with universities in their collectives to try to get more visibility to the impact that NIL donations can have at a grassroots level. It was basically a marketing play because I have this background in digital marketing. And I quickly realized that the NIL collective landscape was, one, it looked like it was going to be changing a lot, and I was uncertain of the future of where it was going to go, but also that these collectives were doing the best that they could with limited resources, and they didn't have enough bandwidth to even think about what it would be like to market to the grassroots. So I quickly pivoted to try to help individual athletes solve their funding issues, their NIL funding, because most athletes, I'd say like 90 some odd percent, don't get NIL deals. If they
Mhm.
do, it's probably a product placement kind of thing where they get product, free product, and maybe they promote it, but there's no money in it. And so I was like, well, what if I could give athletes a platform where they could promote themselves and access or to their story, like a more connection with their super fans. The super fans could be their friends and family. It could be people they went to high school with. It could be people that are friends with the program, but people that really care about an individual athlete or a team. How could I connect their fans directly to them and allow them a way to make revenue? And that was the original version of Booster, which we're going on about 2 years ago that I came up with that idea.
Okay.
And it's evolved since then, but that was the start of it. I don't know if there's any questions you want to ask about that part.
No, that's I'm glad you laid that that kind again the origin story. How did we get to where we're at? So let's go and talk about that leap. Now, and I'm looking at your website, which is just really you got some. I think it's great marketing. The tagline, the headline, fundraise like it's 2025. Say goodbye to old school fundraisers. And again, the just some great stuff. What prompted the change into school-based fundraising? And you work both
Sure,
with high schools and colleges.
that's
And
right.
I'm going to get out of the way now. How did that happen?
What's funny, it happened exactly a year ago. The Right now, there was American Volleyball Coach Association conference is happening in Kansas City. Last year it was at Louisville. It's always at the Final Four for the NCAA tournament in volleyball. And I was walking around the floor, and I saw these fundraising vendors. And in this one section they were selling. There was a lot of popcorn vendors. And what had happened was, about a week before, my neighbor had come to me and was like, I had to buy popcorn for my nephew's football team, and you've got to get it out of my house. Will you take it? I can't be eating all this. And I was like, no, there's something there. Like, this is something that's been around a long time, and it has a place in fundraising for sure. Selling something has a place, but I'm like, there's got to be a method to create some more connectivity to the actual sport than selling a product that doesn't have anything to do with the sport. I was like, there's got to be a way. And I was like, well, what if we adapted Booster to be a fundraising platform for teams? And so it was a subscription model that gives you access to this private community that is telling this team story throughout the season. And the way they tell it is the kids post updates. It could be photos that their parents took. It could be photos from the bus when they're on a road trip. It could be them talking to the camera, just telling their friends and family about what it is that why this upcoming game is so important, or what happened in the last game, or what they're working on in practice. And I was like, that I feel like, for I always use the example of like a grandparent that's not local and doesn't have a lot of access to their grandson or granddaughter and what they're going through in their games. I'm like, God, they would feel great getting those updates from their grandchild. And I think they would like that better, or at the very least would feel more connected to their grandchild than if they bought popcorn. or if they did a an email campaign fundraiser and just gave money and got nothing in return. And so that was the impetus of the idea, was this, our North Star is this building community and connectivity with high school athletics. That's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, as you were explaining it to me, at your booth at NADC, that immediately jumped out at me as a unique way to do it, and the ongoing, I guess maybe never ending process. Let's go and talk a little bit now about the platform. The website, listeners, it's booster.club. And again, go to the website and check it out. But how or let's just do this. Why? There's a lot of options out there when athletic directors are looking at fundraising platforms. Why should our listeners, why should our ADs go to booster.club?
Well, I think that building connectivity and a support system around your athletic teams and your athletic that supports your athletic budget is something every AD, every team should be doing. That, what we strive for at Booster is this, to build this, like I said, this financial support structure where the donors, the people that, care about their family member on the team, get to experience a little bit of the impact of athletics, and they see that how their money impacts their loved one and the team around them. The way I always voice it, athletics, organized competition in general, is the finishing school for our youth. That's where they learn teamwork, they learn determination, leadership, all these attributes. And there's so many studies out there of the impact that participating in organized competition has on a child's development in turning into an adult. If you can connect the have some connectivity for these people that care about their child or your program, they will continue to support the program even after their child has left, because they know this was a program that meant a lot to them. And so if you do it right, you will have a revenue stream that starts to build over time. And for your coach, it becomes a predictable revenue stream that they can count on, because let's face it, you have expenses during the season for sure, but the expenses are year round. There are things that, in the off season that the coach has to go out of pocket, or maybe he can't plan for, or maybe he has to put off. This is a way to build some predictable, forecastable revenue for your coach and build a support system that will pay dividends and allow him to focus more on coaching and the relationships he has with his team and less on fundraising going forward.
Now, let's say one of our listeners, they go to the website, they click, sign up now. What's the process for, onboarding a team?
Sure.
How does it happen?
Well, I would say that for any listener now, if, one, you should go to the website and check it out. You can click around, but we're a very high touch organization. And we want to make sure that, because this is new, that, we guide you through the setup. So I would say, I'm the CEO. You can email me directly, Scott@booster.club, and I will personally walk you through the setup and make sure that you do it right. It's very easy. The first thing we need is just an email address for the coach and the name of the school, and we'll configure your page for you. You could do it yourself, but it doesn't take very long. And then the next step is a roster of your team. You can upload it yourself, or you can email it to me directly. And the roster is names and emails of your kids. And I would want to make sure that you notify your parents that are involved in the team of what it is that we're doing and why we're doing it, so that when the email goes out to their kids, they sign up and they know exactly what they're getting into. And that's pretty much it. There's only one other step, and that is to get paid. You have to connect Stripe. We use Stripe because it's a best-in-class financial product for accepting payments. We take payments very seriously, and they do, will collect your 1099 information and what they call KYC, which is know your customer information. And they do all the reporting and handle all of the cash, or excuse me, the deposits into your account. We don't do that. Stripe does that. They're the best at it. So once you do that, you're done. It's setting up the coach's page, setting up, getting your ingestion of your emails for your kids. We send those invites out for them. They set up their individual pages, and then connecting your Stripe. Then you're off to the races. We could talk more about the day-to-day of what that looks like to use Booster, but the setup is Shouldn't take more than 10 minutes.
Well, I mean, that's a key factor. Athletic directors are always looking for something, it's got to work, but it's also easy to use. Nobody, whether it's a coach, an AD, a parent, they don't want to get that email that says, all right, we're going to another system. We're going to use a different
Sure.
platform. It happens. So when it does happen, you want to make sure that it's easy to use. Let's go and talk about that day to day because that's going to be part of the ongoing process.
Sure. So Booster is designed to be this content hub. And one, I think the most important first topic is it's private and invite only. So it's not a searchable, it's not something that some, person in your community that's not affiliated with the program could find. Like they would actually, in order to be a member and a paying member, you have to be invited by somebody on the team. So that's the first thing. We take privacy and security for our participants really seriously. So once the invites go out to friends and family and the kids sign up, it's on the kids and the parents to upload content. Truthfully, anybody in the platform can upload it. A coach, an assistant coach, a booster club president, anybody that wants access or an account inside of their instance of booster can have one and upload content. But we envision is that the kids, that this is their participation in in the process is uploading. The content can come from parents that take videos on the sidelines, or it could be like I said, the kids in the locker room, whatever it is. The kid, there would be the ability to upload photos or videos just like on Instagram. And then there's a moderation component where you can nominate the coach. It could be assistant coach. It could be a parent, but the kids would upload the content, and then there's a moderator that allows it to be pushed out to be posted. And from there, that's how the life of the page starts to take shape. Now, when content is posted and there are updates, there would be email notifications to users and use boosters that their loved one or somebody on the team has posted content, and they can go check it out. The the way that the subscription piece works is at the beginning of every season, when you have new players, would go in and send, once they've uploaded, or excuse me, once they've accepted their invite to be a member of the team, they would do an email or a text message to their loved ones with a URL that sends them to a page where they can subscribe. Once a booster subscribes, he's subscribed, monthly for until they cancel. So in an ideal world, a freshman would come in, and let's say he's going to play all 4 years, or aspires to play all 4 years. He and his family would go to their loved ones that first year, sign them up, and instead of asking for some lump sum, they would ask for this monthly contribution, and then that monthly contribution would run the entire 4 years that kid is on the team. It saves the parent from having to go back to the same people over and over again. And in the interim, during the time the kid's on the team, they would get updates from their loved one of things that they're doing within their team experience that keeps them connected.
What what's some of the feedback that you've gotten from let's say ADs or maybe even parents that are part of the system? Always curious as to what the rank and file think.
Well, I think that people like the idea of building the connectivity. Like they like the idea of having something to offer that keeps this community connected to the team. And I think that they like the idea of having something to offer for people even after they're not participating day to day in the program. This idea that you could build a support system that lives beyond just the 4 years that a child's involved with it. So because all of these teams require, the support, or the financial commitment to running a team is just going to keep growing. Costs keep going up. You have, funding is limited in lots of different areas or challenged. Being able to have something that builds and grows and keeps their community connected, I think is really valuable. I think there's a component that is scary of like what is our story to tell People, aren't sure what it is that they want to post, or, what the post should look like. And my feedback to them is always, one, any, you know, uh, any loved one loves to see a picture of their, this person that they care about. So it doesn't have to be a polished, image or something like that. Like, there's all sorts of video and photography that takes place that doesn't live anywhere, and being able to have a place that it lives, that it can be enjoyed by people that care about your team, is really a powerful idea. Um, and then, the uh, I think the off the field stuff actually plays the most. This is one of the things I get from parents. It's this idea that, I don't necessarily, my loved ones don't necessarily want to see Timmy, on the field in his helmet. They want to see him off the field, where they can see him smiling, having fun with his friends. That's the thing they want to see. And so I think, the booster being a safe environment to share all that stuff, and being a close knit community that is, different than what happens on social media, I think is really attractive.
Well, I mean, again, the video and the pictures can have huge impact, but even just, hey, Grandma, I caught 2 passes today in practice, or I ran my personal best in a track workout. Just that opportunity to share those types of updates, I see as a great aspect of the platform. Let's go ahead and jump to the chase here. The website, as I mentioned, booster.club. If somebody wants to reach out and pick the brain of the CEO and find out more, how do they get in touch with Scott Birnbaum?
Sure. Email me, scott@booster.club, and I'd love to talk to you. If Booster is something where, it's intriguing to you, and you need some help pitching it to, other stakeholders, I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to even just get feedback on what you think, and ways that we can improve our presentation or our product. We have as an outsider to both, high school education, and also, high school sports, I recognize I have a lot to learn. And every school district I talk to, every sport, they all have different needs, or, things that are important to them. And we strive to build the best product that we can build.
Yeah. Well, again, I'm very intrigued by it. I think it's a great new take and a needed take on fundraising platforms. Athletic directors, reach out to Scott. That's Scott Birnbaum. Again, the website is booster.club, and find out how the platform can help you in your program. Scott, thanks again for sharing with our listeners. All the best moving forward, and I'm looking forward to seeing how the platform begins to get more involved with high school athletics.
Thanks a lot, Jake. I appreciate it.
Hey, for our listeners, we appreciate you. And just a reminder, we upload the Zoom recordings of all of our interviews to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We do Toolbox Extra just about every week, and just about every day we share stories and best practices from the world of athletics. So please join us again on the next episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you next time. Sounds like a really cool platform. Again, I encourage you to check it out. That's booster.club on the internet. Let's say thanks to our other great sponsors, Beacon Creative Wall of Fame. I want to say thanks to Gipper, Sideline Interactive Indoor Score Tables and Video Boards, Home Campus, go to homecampus.com, Huddle, I used it as a football coach, as an AD, we were a Huddle school, Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration, check them out. Hometown, you'll find them at hometown.com, and Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack, you'll find them at athleticsurveys.com. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you next time on the Educational AD Podcast.